Same reaction. Kathy Engelbert should resign as the commissioner of the WNBA. And the reason I said that, fellas, is because when a player, and Nafisha Collier is a star in the WNBA. This is not some role player. This is her, okay? Who also happens to be a vice president. You understand?
What you're about to hear isn't hyperbole. That's Stephen A. Smith calling for the commissioner of the WNBA to resign over what just happened. And if you've been following this league, you know Stephen A. doesn't demand a resignation lightly. What could force the most powerful voice in sports media to demand Kathy Engelbert step down? The answer is simpler and more devastating than anyone wants to admit. Caitlin Clark just executed the quietest power play in professional sports history, and in doing so, she exposed a truth the WNBA has been desperately trying to hide. The league doesn't just need her, they are completely dependent on her, and they just realized it at the worst possible moment. Here's what actually happened. While everyone was celebrating sold-out arenas and record ratings, the WNBA Players Association made a catastrophic miscalculation. They opted out of their collective bargaining agreement 2 years early, convinced they held an unbeatable hand. The logic seemed sound. Attendance was up, viewership was exploding, and sponsors were circling. If there was ever a moment to demand more money and a bigger slice of the pie, this was it. They walked into those negotiations with the confidence of someone driving a tank. What they forgot is that Caitlin Clark is the engine, and engines don't negotiate. They just stop running. If you believe the story behind the story matters more than the headlines, smash that like button right now. It tells us you're paying attention to what's actually happening, not just what they want you to see. The timeline here is crucial because it reveals how fast this situation unraveled. Just weeks ago, the narrative seemed bulletproof. Women's basketball was finally having its moment. Charter flights were a reality. Massive TV deals were being signed. Everyone was patting themselves on the back, convinced the mission was accomplished. Success felt guaranteed. The vibe was immaculate. Then, the union, watching all this momentum build, decided it was the perfect time to light a match inside a fireworks factory. They didn't wait for the contract to expire. They didn't test the waters. They tossed the collective bargaining agreement in the trash like an expired coupon and marched into negotiations, thinking they held all the leverage. From their perspective, it made sense. The money was flowing. But here's what they didn't account for. This newfound prosperity wasn't diversified. It wasn't spread across a roster of marketable stars. It had one name, one face, one specific logo three-pointer that sent arenas into absolute chaos. Stephen A. essentially reminded everyone of what the numbers have been screaming for months. When Caitlin Clark is playing, viewership explodes. When she isn't, the numbers crash back to pre-Clark levels almost immediately. The watch parties, the sellouts, the mainstream coverage, it all followed one player. Not the uniform, not the league. Her. So, while the union was busy making demands about equity and bargaining power, Caitlin Clark did something far more impactful. She went silent. No press tour, no dramatic statements, no cryptic posts. She simply said no to the next big thing everyone assumed she'd join. When Unrivaled came calling with money, equity, and a red carpet rolled out by veterans, she declined. She chose to play golf instead. That one decision spoke louder than any press conference ever could. Stephen A. didn't frame it as a rebellion. He called it something far more concerning, a quiet resignation. A strategic retreat designed to send a message without ever raising her voice. Caitlin Clark didn't storm out. She calmly walked toward the exit, left the door open just enough to make everyone panic, and went to enjoy her off-season in peace. Meanwhile, the league that just opted out of its financial security blanket is now staring at a terrifying reality. Their entire revenue model could vanish if she decides she's happier doing literally anything else.
The commission, and I say that not in any kind of derogatory way, she was talking about Kathy Engelbert directly. She revealed private conversations, you understand, with quotes from this lady, the commissioner, about what she said that came across as dismissive, as derogatory, and unappreciative.
Those weren't just casual complaints. Those were direct accusations against the WNBA commissioner. revealed through private conversations that painted Kathy Engelbert as dismissive, derogatory, and fundamentally unappreciative of the very athletes driving the league's success. When a vice president of the Players Association publicly exposes the commissioner's private remarks, it's not just drama. It's a structural collapse happening in real time. And here's where it gets complicated. The player making these claims isn't a fringe voice. She's a star with massive influence and institutional power. By going public, she signaled that the relationship between leadership and the players has completely disintegrated. Caitlin Clark, watching this unfold, made a calculated decision: silence. Think about the weight of that move. The union opts out of the CBA early, expecting leverage. The commissioner is accused of being dismissive. And the league's biggest star, the one person everyone assumed would be the face of the future, quietly declines the next big venture and goes radio silent. That's not a coincidence. It's a chess move. And it's working perfectly. Now, everyone from Stephen A. Smith to league executives is realizing they have no backup plan. For years, the WNBA claimed the league was bigger than any one player. They said the collective strength would carry them. Then, someone arrived that everyone actually wanted to watch. And that comfortable narrative shattered the moment she implied she might be fine walking away. Many of you saw this power shift coming in the comments long before the mainstream media caught on. Drop a comment right now. Do you think Caitlin is right to stay silent, or should she speak out? This conversation is just getting started. Let's connect the dots. The WNBPA thought they were leveraging peak momentum, record attendance, historic ratings, and new sponsors. They concluded this was a moment to strike, opt out early, and secure the bag. It was a brilliant strategy, except for one detail. All that momentum has a single source. Stephen A. Smith didn't mince words. He pointed out that when Caitlin Clark wasn't playing, viewership didn't just dip. It crashed back to pre-2024 levels instantly. The arenas went from packed to sparse. The mainstream coverage evaporated. The data is ruthless. Fans weren't tuning in for the WNBA concept. They were tuning in for her. The union's miscalculation is almost tragic. They assumed this wealth was permanent and diversified. They believed sponsors fell in love with women's basketball as a whole, not one specific player who made it culturally relevant. So they made their demands, thinking the league had no choice but to fold. But Caitlin responded by demonstrating a harder truth. You can't have a financially viable season without the person driving 90% of the revenue. By declining unrivaled, she sent a message to every negotiating room. I don't need this, but you desperately need me, and I'm perfectly comfortable doing nothing. That's not arrogance, it's market reality. Networks signed massive deals based on Caitlin's trajectory. If she steps away, or games are canceled, those networks won't just absorb the loss. Contracts have clauses. Payments get withheld. A 50% share of zero is still zero. Stephen A. called this economic suicide. And he's right. The union created instability at the exact moment stability was their most valuable asset. And behind the scenes, agents are frustrated. They know Caitlin's presence brought endorsements to players who never had them. Her impact forced the league to provide charter flights, a demand decades of negotiations failed to achieve. Yet, the response from some was resentment. It's emotionally understandable to be angry at a 22-year-old who didn't have to suffer your same struggles. But strategically, it's disastrous. There's a global dimension here, too. Caitlin Clark is a global brand. European clubs would pay her astronomical amounts for exhibition tours. She could make more in a month than the WNBA's entire payroll. The WNBA is her most convenient option, but as Stephen A. implied, it's not her only one. If the environment becomes too toxic, she has a passport and a global fan base that will follow her anywhere. That possibility should terrify anyone who cares about this league. At its core, the realization is simple. Caitlin Clark doesn't need the WNBA. The WNBA needs Caitlin Clark. The league is one bad decision away from watching its star decide she's happier and richer outside the system. When the union opted out, they thought they were making a power move. Instead, they handed Caitlin a loaded weapon and dared her to use it. Her response wasn't loud or dramatic. It was calculated and devastating. She proved she can walk away without hesitation. If you want to stay ahead of this story, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications. This situation is far from over, and what happens next could reshape professional basketball forever. The league's move was loud and impulsive. Her response was quiet and destructive. History remembers the quiet moves that change everything. And right now, Caitlin Clark is writing that history, one strategic silence at a time.